Welcome to War Chronicle, where forgotten battles, untold stories, and the secret side of military history come to life. The A-10 Thunderbolt II is one of the most recognizable aircraft in the world. It's slow, it's loud, it carries an insane amount of firepower, and it can take a beating that would send most other planes spiraling into the abyss, only to emerge from it and keep on trucking. But what is it about this plane that has made it so resilient? Why does the mighty A-10 Warthog refuse to die? That's what we're going to look at today. It's me and this is air power. The A-10 was designed in the 70s to fill the Close Air Support, or CAS, role left vacant by the retirement of the A-1E. The Air Force wanted something capable of delivering a massive payload of ordnance right where it was needed, but it also needed to be able to take a lot of punishment. After all, CAS aircraft often operate in some of the harshest environments known to man, flying slow and low through canyons of mountains or over open terrain while being hammered by small arms fire and man pads. These are dangerous places for any aircraft to fly. And when you factor in that the pilot will more than likely need to eject after taking damage, things become even more complicated. The ejection system had to not only get the pilot out of the stricken aircraft, but it also had to land safely on the ground without causing damage to the surrounding area, which is why the A-10 uses a whole slew of systems to deliver the pilot safely back to friendly lines. But that's a story for another day. Back to the A-10's amazing survivability. To better understand the A-10's resilience, let's take a look at some of its contemporaries. The F-16 was designed to fill a fighter-like role and bring air superiority to the fight. The F-15 was built for speed and range, meant to cover large amounts of territory quickly. Each of these aircraft are optimized for their respective roles, but the A-10 wasn't meant to win dogfights or patrol vast swaths of airspace. Its job was to move across the battlefield like a metal scythe, cutting down anything the enemy could throw at it, until it was nothing but twisted metal and smoldering cinders. So how did the engineers accomplish this feat? The A-10 was designed around two main attributes: redundancy and simplicity. From the very beginning, Fairchild Republic team set out to build an aircraft that could shrug off damage and keep on trucking. This mindset is evident throughout the design of the aircraft, starting with its power plant. The A-10 uses two turbofan engines, not one, but two. Should one engine fail, the A-10 can limp home on the remaining engine, just in case a single engine failure isn't enough. Each engine feeds two massive Hamilton Sunstrand PG-76 hydraulic systems, meaning the aircraft can still function with up to 3 failures. If one engine fails, the A-10 will roll out a slight imbalance. And if another engine fails, they'll lose all hydraulic power and have to hand pump the controls. But the aircraft will remain controllable. That level of redundancy is unheard of today, and nearly impossible to pull off in a modern fighter. But the 70s were a different time, and the engineers who designed the A-10 weren't afraid of complexity. Which brings us to our next point: simplicity. Back in the 70s, computers were becoming more prevalent in aircraft systems. The F-1 for Tomcat relied heavily on a massive onboard computer called the AWG-9 Fire Control Stabilization and Navigation Computer to perform many critical tasks. This included controlling the aircraft's radar, weapons delivery systems, electronic countermeasures, navigation, and flight control. Today, the F-35's advanced APG-AT-1 radar is controlled entirely through the aircraft's onboard computer with little to no manual controls. Back then, the Navy asked the computer to do too much, and it suffered reliability issues. Some have said that the A-10's simple analog systems are more reliable because there's less software for bugs to hide in. But the truth is, the A-10's designers simply didn't trust computers like their Navy counterparts did. So they kept the computer's workload low and gave pilots plenty of manual controls for everything else. For example, the A-10 doesn't use a computer to control its radar. Instead, it has manual controls on the control stick. What would take an F-35 pilot a few button presses and a confirmation on the control panel takes an A-10 pilot a minute or more of adjusting knobs and switches, and that's by design. If the A-10 systems were controlled by a single computer, then a single missile or a well-placed cannon blast could take out the entire aircraft. But because each system is independent of the others, the A-10 can keep fighting even after taking heavy damage. But the A-10's resilience doesn't stop there. Every system in the aircraft is designed with backups. If one backup fails, then a manual workaround exists to keep the aircraft functional. Let's say the electrical system, which powers the guns and avionics, takes a hit. most aircraft would go down right about now. But the A-10 can switch to its auxiliary power unit, a small engine that runs the aircraft systems without the main engines. Should that fail, the A-10 has batteries and an emergency electrical generator to keep the guns and radio working long enough to get the pilot out of the danger zone. This level of redundancy means that the A-10 can continue to engage targets even after taking heavy damage. In fact, there are multiple documented cases of A-10s flying back to base after being hit multiple times. On February 1993, an A-10 flew back to base after being hit by a surface-to-air missile. The impact sent shrapnel through the aircraft, damaging both wings and the tail section. But the pilot kept his cool and brought the damaged aircraft back down in one piece. On another occasion, an A-10 was hit by an 80mm recoilless rifle while flying over Afghanistan. The round pierced the aircraft's gas cap, punctured the oil tank, and ruptured the hydraulic line for the left elevator. Despite the damage, the pilot kept flying the A-10 until he could hand off the target to another aircraft before landing back at base. The A-10 really is the gift that keeps on giving. Another major factor in the A-10's survivability is its titanium armor. The aircraft is covered in over 500 pounds of armor plating, which protects the crew from small arms fire and shell fragments. While the A-10 is resistant to small arms fire, it can still be lethal. The best way to take down an A-10 is to hit it with a heat-seeking missile like the Sidewinder. Because the aircraft is so slow, it provides a large thermal signature that's easy for a missile to lock onto. And because the A-10 flies so low, it's difficult for the pilot to see a heat-seeking missile coming. The only defense the A-10 has against a missile is flares and chaff, which can confuse the missile, hopefully sending it off course. But there's no guarantee that these countermeasures will work. That's why the A-10 is typically flown in pairs. If one aircraft gets hit, the other can pick up the fight. In one instance, an A-10 was hit by a heat-seeking missile over Afghanistan. The missile hit the aircraft just as it reached its target, blowing the left wing clean off. But the pilot managed to keep control of the aircraft and fly it back to base. The A-10 touched down safely, albeit without a wing, and the pilot ejected safely. There are many reasons why the A-10 has proven so durable over the years. Its twin engines and triple redundant hydraulic systems allow it to continue to fly even after taking heavy damage. Its titanium armor protects the crew from small arms fire, and its ability to fly low and slow makes it difficult for enemy forces to target. All of these factors have allowed the A-10 to earn its reputation as the airplane that won't die. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.